Good morning and welcome to the newspaper review show here on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio broadcasting from Marina, Lagos State, Nigeria. It's a new month, so happy new month to you listening, to you that is also watching us. We're currently live on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria and also live on YouTube at LagoonTV. So if you want to put a face to the voices you're listening to, you can, just rush down there and be a part of the show. My name is Nana Abigail Mbab. You can call me Ibu Abi. And I have with me Shabili with Taiwo Adeola. I know you've missed you as a call.
Yes, I've actually missed it. Good morning.
Yes. All right. You're welcome. As always, it's the newspaper review by this time of the day. And in no particular order, we have we have this day newspaper, Nigerian Tribune, Leadership newspaper, Daily Times, New Telegraph, National Economy, Daily Trust newspaper, the Blueprint. We have Business AM, we have the Nigerian Express, we have This Nigeria, we have Daily Assets, we have Daily Sun, we have the Authority newspaper, Daybreak. We have the Nigerian Pilots, we have Daily Independent newspaper. So we're going to try as much as we can to cover most of the headlines on these newspapers. Okay, would you like to start?
All right, we're starting with this day newspaper. Boldly written on the front page, AU, PDP is back to rescue Nigeria from a current mess. Well, you can see the story on page 5 of the paper. The Monday interview, Amechi, did they tell you that they went to Obiapo, a sitting government, shot an army colonel and took Obiapo's result? All this you find on page 20 to page 24 of the paper. And also at the very top, CBN unveils 100 for 100 policy. Obinna Chima says, you can continue reading on page 5. It's quite tiny, but you can continue reading on page 5 of the paper. I think that's all on the front page.
Yeah, and then the image of
Joe
Joe Biden and Ngozi Okonjo
Okonjo-Iweala on the front page there.
Okay, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune. Uneasy calm in Oyo APC over controversial Congress. The writer under that says 4 panel members' his own process claim delegates list falsified is unfounded, baseless. Congress committee chair says I was held hostage for 12 hours. Over 2,000 people barricaded my hotel. All of this can be found on page 24 of the Nigerian Tribune. Wike gives federal government 48 hours to unveil invaders of Justice Odili's house. House of Rep committee calls for probe. So yes, she's one of the chief justice of the federation, and her home was allegedly invaded. Anyway, you can find more details of that on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. On federal roads, federal government owing Ogun State 300 billion naira. Abiodun is saying,
how much if federal government is owing Ogun State 5 billion? How much is federal government owing Lagos State? Because we've got so many bad roads here.
Okay, no problem. We'll collect your money. Zenith Bank profits before tax hit 180 billion naira in Q3 2021. That can be found on page 7. 55-year-old Okia Olumakaiye gives birth to twins 6 months after her husband's death. That can be found on page 25. I saw the story yesterday and I didn't know if I, like somebody said, I don't know if it's tell me congrats or I don't know if I say, but well, it's a miracle, and
I mean, she was pregnant before.
Yes.
Her husband's demise.
Anyway,
congratulations to her.
Definitely. Okay, Nigerian Tribune wins NMMA in editorial writing. That can be found on page 8. Congrats to them. Southeast monarchs, bishops, others list conditions for peace in Igbo land. You can get details of that on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. CBN announces selection criteria for private sector companies in 100 for 100 PPP. You can also read up on page 7 of that paper for that information. NDLEA seizes London-bound cocaine, heroin at Lagos Airport. You can find that on page 8. 7 die as 3 vehicles, 6 motorcycles, shops razed in Niger community in Femo. That can be found on page 8. PDP convention fallout. Inside details of how governors aided Arakwaja to beat Oyinlola. Party back to rescue Nigeria from APC's mess. IU has says ruling party has a 92 chairmen for 36 states. Can't hold convention. Oyinlola congratulates PDP's new leaders. All of this can be found on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
All right, moving on to the leadership newspaper. Lift embargo on fossil fuel investment. PMB tells Europe, America. The story is on the front page and you can continue reading on page 7. Boldly written on the front page, 6 days to Anambra poll. Residents flee over rising insecurity. And the right under it says, a sporadic gunfire frightens residents. 2 killed in courts clash. Please assure residents of adequate security. Call for calm. Traditional and religious leaders warn IPOB against hampering conduct of election. All this you can find on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. Tanker explosion kills 3 in Niger State. Page 4. Proscribe Amotekun. Northern youths tell federal government. Page 6 of the leadership newspaper. Yinka Odumakin's widow gives. You want to say something on that?
As I wanted to prescribe them as what? The way they prescribe IPOB and turn them into a terrorist group. Is Amoteku a problem to anybody right now?
I doubt.
All right.
Yinka Odumakin's widow gives birth to twins. This you can find on page 9. CBN releases criteria for companies' participation in 100 for 100 PPP. This you can find on page 7 of the leadership newspaper. Irabo wants voluntary retirement for 19 victimized generals. The story is on the front page and you can continue reading on page 4. Zenith Bank's profit before tax rises to 180 billion naira in the third quarter of 2021. Page 20, 23, 28, 25. Well, it's right there in the newspaper. You can find that, and that'll be all on the front page of the leadership newspaper.
And moving on quickly to the Daily Times, Wike Rivers leaders give federal government 48 hours. The same thing on the previous newspapers. Nigeria's future remains bright despite complex situations. Osibanjo has said Buhari travels to Scotland for climate change conference. PDP convention, a quit notice for APC, says IU, new national chairman. All right, they are bragging now. When it's time to do, we're all here. Nigerian NGX gains 982 billion naira in October amid investors' interest in banking and others. All of this you can find on the Daily Times newspaper. At the bottom there, Sirap sues Buhari, demands recovery of missing 881 billion naira in 367 MDAs. Wow. Okay.
All right. Moving on to the Nigerian pilot. Anambra election won't be inclusive, says Chukwuma Soludo. This you can find on page 6. 2.1 billion allowance. You are not part of us, ASU tells San. Well, this you can find on page 13. And boldly written on the front page, why Justice Odili was attacked. On the right under it says, may not be unconnected to the value added tax, VAT. Suit pending at the appeal court that will likely end at the apex court. Vice President Osinbajo, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, heads of security agencies and the NBA to meet. Governor Wike alleged assassination attempt on Justice Odili. Sorry about that. Timmy Frank urges Malami to resign over the invasion. All these you find on page 6 of the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. Scores burnt beyond recognition as fuel tankers collide, explode. Again, you can find this on page 6. That must be a disaster. Whistleblowing, 9 assembly call. Sorry, it's quite tiny, despite the fact I'm wearing glasses. Okay, whistleblowing night assembly can still enact law, says Shehu Sani. This you can read on page 11. Serapsus Buhari wants court to order recovery of missing 881 billion naira. Well, this you can find on page 13. I never had it this bad on a lament poor state of roads in Ife. I think there are bad roads everywhere in the 36 states.
Of course, definitely.
It's really that bad. Well, you can read the story on page 11. Reps call for probe of raid on Justice Odili's residence. Page 12. Buhari setting agenda for Nigeria's division, says Oshuntokun. This you can find on page 13. And on the bottom, there you see TCN facility repairs leave consumers without power in Lagos and Abuja. This you can find on page 11 of the Nigerian Pilot.
Okay, and then we have this Nigeria newspaper. Okonjo Iweala hails Nigerians' banking sector for country's development. You can read up on that on page 11 of this Nigeria. Justice Odili, barbaric, shameful. I guess they're talking about the invasion of a house. The writer under that says, more outrage over invasion of residents. Fish out invaders in 48 hours, Rivers governors and elders are saying. NBA demands punitive action on security agencies. All of this can be found on page 7. On the 2023 presidency, IU has said APC will go. A new PDP chair talks tough, says sack of ruling party will end the suffering of Nigerians. You can read up on page 6. Anambra 76,104 voters may not take part in the poll. Then who is going to vote? Who is remaining inside the states? Yaga Africa have come out to say, you can read up on page 20 of this Nigerian newspaper. Why we killed 4 IPOB members, Army have come out to give their reasons / their defense. You can read up on page 7 of the...
It's going to be an interesting one.
Okay, so yeah, that's basically what we have on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper.
And on the Blueprint newspaper, Blueprint publisher extols late ex-minister Haba Ruma's virtues. All this you can find on page 7. Nigerians per capita income stagnant for 40 years, says World Bank. Page 24, you find the story there. Troops foil 100-man bandit attack on Niger community. The story is right on the front page, and you can continue reading it on page 6. Serap sues Buhari over missing 881 billion in 367 MDAs. This you can find on page 23 of the Blueprint newspaper. PDP National Chairman-elect Hayu. Our party successful convention quit notice to APC.
I like how they are talking tough now, really. But who do they have? Who is going to compete against Swagger? Who do they have?
To
really?
shock you, Abigail.
Eh?
You'll be surprised.
I want to be shocked. I want that type of shock, really.
Okay, well, the right on that it says we are on rescue mission to unite Nigeria. Exercise way to go in nation's elections, says Kola Balogun. Account for 16 years of misrule and underdevelopment, says APC. All this you can find on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. And at the front page, you can see the pictures of President Muhammadu Buhari and the National Leader of Progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during a visit to the president at the State House, Abuja, on Sunday.
The aspiring president of Nigeria come 2023. Are we ready?
I rest my case.
Are we ready? Swagger. We're going to be swaggering. That's your slogan. So
Swagger. Oh my goodness. This man keeps surprising us.
But you know what's funny? I would rather them more. I would rather him more.
Well, you've said that at the very beginning. At the very, very beginning, you mentioned that. And well, I respect everyone's opinion and I respect everyone's vote.
One Nigeria.
Choose right. If you feel he's right, you go for it. If you feel
right now we don't have any right person.
But if you feel at the moment,
but the wrong ones, right? We're just going to select the few possible good that they can do. They are all wrong. All of them are wrong. But we must choose.
Yes.
So given the options we have, we shall must choose.
You must choose wisely.
No, we must choose.
You don't have to be sentimental. Yeah. Boosting SME's growth through first SME accounts. Page 18 of the Blueprint newspaper. You can read the story right there. Many feared dead as fuel tankers explode in Niger State. Page 7. CBN unveils criteria for financial instruments. The 100 for 100 PPP. Page 6 of the paper. Kotangora emerges NARCON secretary. Page 7 of the paper. So amidst headwinds, Zenith Bank's PBT hits 180 billion naira in the third quarter of 2021. This you find on page 25, and that'll be all on the Blueprint newspaper.
Moving on to the Daily Sun newspaper. CBN on. Have we read this?
No.
Okay, CBN on views. It's just the same story in most of them. Yeah. Okay, on the 2023 poll, North will back credible candidate. NEF is saying, says secession threat, bad option for Southeast. Ohaneze, Middle Belt, Eze-Ife, react. All of that can be found on page 6. Catholic bishops task INEC on Anambra Ekiti Gober polls, also on page 6. Orderly, Wike gives federal government 48 hours to unmask, remove the marks, the nose mark that you do put on your marks. You should take it off. That on page 7 of Daily Sun newspaper, you can read up on that. Bribery trails nomination of judges in Abia State. Okay. That can be found on page 8. Southeast monarchs, religious leaders demand Kanu's released. PDP convention, how governors shared NWC seats. Oyinlola accepts defeat, congratulates PDP's new leader. That can also be found on page 8. And then, lastly, it's Zenith Bank's PBT hit 180 billion in Q3 2021. Fraud still menace in banking industry, says Hassan, NDIC boss. And yeah, that's the most. That's what's on the Daily Sun newspaper.
All right, moving on to the Daily Trust. School children in captivity. Federal Government College, Benin Yahudi, Bethel Baptist High School, Kaduna. That's 121. And that of Federal Government College, Benin Yahudi, that's 136. That's a lot. I've just finished releasing this Bethel Baptist children.
No, they haven't. I think about 80 something were released at some point, and that's the end of it. We haven't heard anything else from them. We don't know what the talks are. What are they negotiating? We don't know the efforts that are being put in to release to get these children back.
Because it's like they are not quiet about the old thing, and it shouldn't be. They are kids.
Chibok girls are still missing. What are we not talking?
Probably they are even married.
They've grown up. It's been years. It's been years. If they were kids, most of them are teenagers now. The ones that are not, they're adults now.
They're mothers.
So sad.
Really sad. Well, our informants, other collaborators feel banditry. Another story there is domestic airfares skyrocket despite new airlines entry. And boldly written on the front page, our poor state of Abuja, Kaduna roads accidents, kidnapping. Right under it says, many lives lost to accidents, commuters groan, call for speedy work, payment issues reigns responsible for delays, says federal government. All this you can find on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Insecurity, others caught Nigeria's foreign investment to $875 million, lowest in 5 years. This you can find on page 27 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And at the very bottom, mixed reactions trail Fashola, Sanwo-Olu's monthly rental proposal.
Well, it cannot work. See, it cannot work. How much is the average Lagosian earning? That you know that some people gone before 1 year rent have reached, they would have suffered, sweated, borrowed, done everything so that they can pay that yearly rent. Now you're saying you're proposing that people should be paying rent monthly. From which money? Chase us all out of Lagos, because how much
Just
are people earning?
It's like they're making life difficult. Life is already difficult.
It's already difficult.
More difficult for people.
Now, the landlords, do you even support them? It's not their own money that they used to use and buy land, develop. They will still come and pay government.
Must everything come to your pocket?
They will still pay government. You buy land, you still pay government too. So on top of how you built your house, they will now come and tell you how to rent it. It's not going to work. That they are wasting that. It cannot work. We don't have the economy. We don't have we don't have any the resources to empower people enough to pay monthly rent. If I want to do short let, I will do short let. If I want to, I will know that it's short let I will do. Which I going to be paying rent every month.
How much is the salary?
Tell me to go back to my village.
You don't even know how people save up to
pay for rent. You have no idea how people actually save up for their yearly rent. Landlord will still be chasing them after 7 months. After 7 months, that is easy for leave my house for me. Pay you are staying monthly. No, the whole Lagos will be empty. It can't work.
Well, the story is right there on page 22, 32. Yeah, it's there. CBN unveils criteria for supporting 100 local firms. This is on page 36 of the paper. Kidnappers abduct chief imam and 2 sons in Abuja. This you can find on page 44, and that'll be all on the Daily Trust newspaper.
We're running out of time, so we're just going to do this one. Daybreak Nigeria. The way it is to bring all these names. Our party's successful convention. Quick notice to APC again. Are you still saying on page 7? Justice Odili, Buhari's agent intimidating South. Pandef has come out to say on page 9. I am not responsible for the impeachment of former Speaker Governor Lalong, replies cleric or critics. Okay, it's quite tiny. That can be found on page 6 anyway. Olumakaiye's widow gives birth to twins. On page 9 of the Daybreak newspaper. PDP convention, Secondus rejects appeal court ruling, heads for these people have time to waste. He's going to Supreme Court to go and appeal. Okay, you can find it on page 5, I beg your pardon. Still on the PDP convention, Jonathan's absence unsettles leadership. Party hierarchy worries that the former president is dodgy and may have joined the APC.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. Says Jonathan's trip to Kenya a convenient excuse to stay away. Must he be there? Is Obasanjo there? Was he there? I don't think that's really important, but okay. They now plan to send delegation to Jonathan to go and see, brother. Why did you not come? You can get details of all of this on page 2. IYC fought federal government over 621 billion naira approved for NNPC to construct 21 federal roads. Is it NNPC that used to do road? Anyway, page 9. DSS denied British envoy Eze fair access to Kanu in custody, says a lawyer. You can get details on that on page 10. We rejected Ruga to secure Benue people's life. Autumn is explaining on page 10. Buhari to attend climate change summit in Scotland in page 8. What I want to ask is that when you go there, okay, he's just attending, he's not speaking.
Okay, quickly because of our time, I'm going to take a few news here on the Daily Independent. I'm not going to repeat any. Bodily written on the front page, food prices hit rooftop despite declining headline inflation. And the right under it says, firms worry over erosion of profit margins, drop in sales, decline in turnover, weak manufacturing capacity utilization. The story is on the front page there, and you can continue reading. Buhari's depart for Scotland for climate change conference. Well, page 3 of the paper, GMD UBA Kennedy Uzoka wins Innovator of the Year award. On the right under it says UBA receives excellence in digital banking award. Page 3 of the paper. PDP lets off battle cry for Aso Rock in 2023 election. On the right under it says success of convention is quite notice to APC. Party governors exhibit for taste of 2022 primary election. This you can continue reading in the paper. And at the very bottom, Tinubu meets Buhari at Aso Rock, lauds his exceptional leadership. Page 25 of the Daily Independent newspaper.
You know that rat that be chopping you and be blowing you breeze. That's it. Well, that's the best we can do. We've done what we can. This is the headline or the front page papers that we've taken the much that we can. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of it. Yes, we're still going to have papers tomorrow. Okay, coming up next is the moment of truth with the Venerable Henry Adelegon. Stay connected. Of course, it's a new month, and stay locked down. We love you. Bye bye. Enjoy yourself. Thanks.